You don't have to worry about like constantly spamming games throughout the day. Anyways, realistic average in low elo have good have like at least 7 CS a minute in low elo. In high elo, it's hard to tell because everybody has good CS. And everybody CS in itself is dynamic, right? So like if there is like more fight, if I wish I could draw like a graph or something. Basically like I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm really tired. But if I was to draw like a graph, the more fights, like if this was like, you know, fights, right? Or whatever. The more fights there are, the less CS you're going to have. Right? You're just going to have less and less CS. Because if you're not CS, if you're fighting, then you're not CSing. That's pretty obvious. Right? So, the thing with low elo players, low elo have a lot of fights. Right? Low elo has a lot of fights, and the graph usually, if this was the fights and this was the CS, the graph usually just goes like this. Like, really low. And it just goes like this. In high MMR, it becomes kind of different in the sense where the graph is high, but then you have these fights, right? So like fight 1, that matters. Okay, CS drops. Keep having high CS. Fight 2, CS drops. Fight 3, CS drops. The game's over, right? These 3 fights can decipher the game. In low elo, however, right, where we can just do the same thing, where there's so many different fights, just out of fucking for no reason, you're gonna have low CS. It is obvious. But that's not relative to you not fighting. Yeah, it's pretty fucking simple. It's very simple. But the thing what you do, the trade-off, there is a trade-off. The trade-off, right? For low elo versus, this whole issue is that the laners that you're versus are gonna have bad CS. So the graph can go like this. Right? Oh, if it's the Chinese servers, then it's just like this. This is the fucking graph in the Chinese servers. You won't even see the line. There's just nothing but fights. So holy shit. So like you could do something like this. So lane phase, again, this is the fights. This is the CS, right? Lane phase could be like, okay, you have good CS. After the lane phase is over, and like mid game comes in, and then you have all these random fights coming in, it's actually acceptable to have low CS. It is fully acceptable to have low CS because you're fucking fighting. You can't control the apes that you play with in your games, so you have to join them. But up until this cutoff line, okay, obviously that's not the straightest of lines, but whatever, right? Up until like this cutoff line on lane phase, your CS should be absolutely perfect. This should be like 8 plus CS a minute, 8 to 9 CS a minute, easily. But when this happens, it's okay to drop down to 6. It's okay to drop down to 5. It's okay to drop down to 4 sometimes, right? If it drops down to 4, then maybe there's an issue. But now you got to focus on something called lane allocation, right? Now, lane allocation, right? Lane allocation. It's not Los Angeles, it's lane allocation. Is basically like choose the correct lane and be relative to the objective. Which is really hard to do because now you have all your solo queue teammates who, your top laner may have teleport, but instead of going down to the furthest objective that wants to be contested, he's gonna be in your lane. You're gonna start sharing XP. And this is something that it's very hard to do, and this is why lane swaps don't exist in low elo, right? Because I talk a lot of shit about NA and not being able to lane swap, and I tweeted about this not too long ago as well. But lane swaps do not exist in low elo, and you shouldn't be lane swapping in low elo. Because if you lane swap, how do you know the other player is going to swap with you? It's not possible. Again, this is the issue with lane allocation inside of low elo. This all becomes a disaster, right? Whereas in high elo, this stays consistent. Because mid game in high elo is a thing. Mid to late game in low elo is non-existent. It's a fiesta. It's just a zoo. People running around. People getting caught out. You get kills, whatever. That's why I say the most important thing about climbing is your mechanics, right? Mechanics, like Okay, I can't write with the mouse. But mechanics are everything, okay? And for you to thrive, and again, this is the chaos, right? For you to thrive in the chaos, you have to have mechanics. By watching my videos and being like, oh, you know, I'm a very smart player or whatever, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to help you, right? Because this is why I don't coach mid to late game. Because I don't want to coach mechanics, because I can tell you what to do. I can go over certain situations, but it's your job to refine all of this. This is what really deciphers, deciphers more low-elo players from, it gets them to higher MMR than really the lane phase, which is quite sad. Because you see those LeBlanc players that go like 0-3 in lane, right? And then lane phase is over, and they end the game with like 11 kills and like 5 deaths. Like, what the fuck happened in between? No one knows. And that just comes back with this entire thing where there is so much chaos happening. And if you have the talent and you have the mechanics, you will always thrive in that chaos. Doesn't matter what elo you play in. Under, I would say, like high diamond, because then the fights become very linear. They become very selective, and then what you do becomes very, very like important. Because I mean, I just played solo queue, and Rakan engaged like a complete bonobo, and he lost us the game. Although it didn't actually kill the Nexus, it just lost us the Ocean Dragon. But people don't realize that that one fight has completely skewed the gold amount for the enemy team and our team. We can't win the game anymore because the enemy is just going to win because of the advantage that they just got. Although it is NA, and we actually did win a fight after that, but not the point.